Today's topic, moving from resentment to respect, embracing your partner's boundaries. Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Samuels. In my 30 years as a psychologist specializing in sex addiction recovery and betrayal trauma, I've helped many couples successfully navigate the challenging landscape of healing after discovery. Today, I want to speak directly to individuals in recovery from sex addiction about something that often becomes a pivotal point in that healing journey: your partner's boundaries. Yes, boundaries. Your partner's discovery of the addiction was profoundly traumatizing. Her sense of reality was shattered, her trust broken. As she begins to heal, for her sense of safety, she's naturally going to establish boundaries. How you understand and respond to those boundaries will significantly impact both your recovery and the potential for relationship healing. One of the most common misconceptions I see is recovering addicts interpreting their partner's boundaries as punishment or control, payback, in other words. But when your partner says, I need transparency about your whereabouts, I need to know you're attending recovery meetings consistently, or I need space from physical intimacy while I process this betrayal, they aren't trying to penalize you. These are trauma responses, necessary protections for your partner needs to function in a relationship where her safety has been seriously compromised. Many recovering addicts respond defensively to boundaries, seeing them as restrictions designed to make them pay for past behaviors. This defensive stance invariably creates more distance. The healing begins when you can shift to understanding boundaries as your partner's way of communicating what she needs to feel safe enough to even consider rebuilding trust. In my clinical experience, how someone responds to his partner's boundaries is one of the most reliable indicators of the depth of his recovery and his commitment to relational healing. I encourage you to honestly examine your boundary reactions. Do you reluctantly agree while internally resenting them? Do you become defensive when reminded of them? Do you try to negotiate them down just because you feel uncomfortable? This resistance often signals areas where recovery work needs further attention. Authentic recovery includes developing genuine empathy for the pain you've caused and a willingness to support healing, even when it's uncomfortable. The clients I've seen who have achieved the most meaningful relationship healing are those who eventually come to respect boundaries without complaining or endless pushback, without reminding their partner how long it's been since their last slip, and without expecting praise for basic honesty. Here's something that surprises many of my clients. The boundaries your partner sets can actually strengthen your recovery process. When she articulates what she needs regarding transparency, communication, and recovery activities, she's providing a framework that supports your sobriety rather than threatens it. The clearer the expectations, the less energy you'll spend wondering what might trigger her or what will help her feel safe. This clarity allows you to focus on your deeper, genuine healing work rather than walking on eggshells or trying to manage your partner's emotions, neither of which supports authentic healing for either of you. Over my years, I've observed common boundaries that partners set after betrayal trauma. Here are the most typical. Transparency boundaries. When your partner requests access to your location information, recovery activities, or electronics, the most healing response is to provide it without resistance. Remember, she's asking because her ability to trust her own perceptions has been severely damaged by past deception. Communication boundaries. Many partners need specific types of communication, perhaps a daily check-in about recovery activities or weekly deeper conversations. Respect your partner's communication needs and be flexible if she needs temporary adjustments based on how she's feeling. Recovery isn't linear for either of you. Recovery activity boundaries. When your partner establishes boundaries around your participation in recovery activities, recognize this as support for your healing rather than control. Consistent engagement with recovery provides the most convincing evidence of your commitment to change. Intimacy boundaries. These are often the most challenging. Please don't view this as purposeful deprivation. Accept these boundaries with patience and without pressure, understanding that genuine intimacy can only be rebuilt when emotional safety has been consistently established. There'll be times when your partner's boundaries feel impossible to meet or when they change unpredictably. This is where the deepest recovery work often happens. Rather than becoming defensive, approach these moments with curiosity. What is this boundary protecting that matters deeply to my partner? What might be behind the emotional intensity of this request? If a boundary truly seems unworkable, address it with respect. I want to honor this boundary and understand why it matters to you. Can we talk about how I might meet the need it represents in a way that works for both of us? When you feel strongest resistance to a boundary, that's often precisely where your recovery work needs to focus. The discomfort might be revealing lingering entitlement or areas where your empathy development remains incomplete. Over time, some boundaries eventually loosen as your partner's sense of safety increases. Others become permanent fixtures of the relationship. What matters isn't the specific boundaries themselves, but the spirit of respect and care with which you approach them. Recovery happens over years rather than months. Your partner's boundaries will likely evolve as both of you heal and as trust gradually rebuilds through your consistent actions rather than your promises. The most healing gift you can offer your partner isn't perfect compliance with boundaries, but your acknowledgement of her right to establish what she needs in order to recover from the trauma your addiction created. Your partner's boundaries aren't obstacles to your relationship. They're the potential foundation for a healthier, more authentic connection than was possible before recovery. By honoring them with patience and genuine respect, you create conditions where trust might eventually grow again, not because you've earned it through perfect behavior, but because you've demonstrated that her healing genuinely matters to you. This journey isn't easy for either of you, but I've witnessed countless times how approaching boundaries as opportunities for growth rather than restrictions opens the possibility of a relationship rebuilt on honesty, mutual respect, and genuine care, the very things that addiction took from both of you. Thank you for taking this important step in your recovery journey. I wish you well.